Boom.
All right.
Welcome. What's up,
We
y'all?
are live to
Let's
another
go. Let's
episode of
go.
Comics Della Morte and episode 6. Can't believe we're in 6 episodes already. And this is the chaos of the Uzumaki Zone. Yeah. And look,
Yes, Frank.
Frank's
More
already
spirals.
here. First, I win.
You did win. Your
Yeah.
no prizes in the mail. Like
All
just
right. No
drop
more
it in.
spirals. Uh,
Drop
and
it in the
and
Discord.
I give props for Frank because this man is making comics, but he still has the time to stop by
Hang
and
out with the
say
boys. Come on,
hello
dude.
to like all the YouTubers out there. So great job.
You're awesome, Frank. I'm just messing with you. I do have a no
Yeah.
prize in the mail for you, though.
So what would you say about this first chapter?
Um,
Which
like,
you want? Do you want to say what the chapter is called?
oh, it's the storm.
The
So
Storm.
I'll show y'all the cover of it. Like, so I know that I'm getting repetitive as we go through this book, but
Looks like
it's
a
like,
hurricane.
yep, rocked you like one too.
Yeah.
But
Rock you like a hurricane.
so so as crazy as the last chapter was because placenta mushrooms, it's
Yeah.
like all when those babies came out, it was like
Mhm.
everything went crazy. Like it's gone to the next level. Like you
Yeah.
can't even imagine if we don't talk about it. Like you would never guess the things that we're going to talk about in these next few chapters.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay, I just showed you a bit of a taste of it. Now I'm going to take you further down the rabbit hole and be like, I'm going to warp your mind and you're going to be like, what just happened?
Yeah, man, it's so crazy. So
Hmm.
it starts out with Kyrie and her boyfriend. He's still barely hanging on to he's barely hanging on because he can see like what's really happening, and
Yeah.
it's as bad as his worst fears, man.
Hmm.
So they, they're having a moment. She's telling him that she would have died a long time ago if he wasn't able to keep her aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Then a hurricane comes,
Hmm.
and Suichi goes bananas. He's trying to warn everybody about the typhoon. You can't even see a wave yet, but he is like freaking out, trying to get everybody. What's up, Calder? He's trying to get everybody involved. Everybody makes it inside. They're looking at the hurricane, and why would they be looking at this hurricane? What's so different about this hurricane over this city?
Yeah.
Because it's got a spiral in it. Because
Exactly.
you know what it is. You know what it is. So it's going nuts. They try to go
What's
outside.
up? What's up?
Um, Kyrie tries to go outside. Hurricane blows her over, and now
Yeah.
couldn't get to her through the hair. It's
Hmm.
this storm is chasing her exclusively while she's outside. Why? It's going bananas.
And do
So
you want to show like the image of her actually inside the center of the hurricane? Like, I just really like that picture, the way he just drew that angle. I mean, it's very simple,
let's see
but
if I,
he did a very good job on it.
not you talking about this one?
Let me see. Yeah, that one. Like, I
Look
have
at that.
I have seen videos, and I could tell you that one time a hurricane actually went over our house. It was a category 1 at the time, but you know, when a hurricane is approaching, all you hear is loud winds, rain, and everything. And when you're in the center of a hurricane, it's like quiet as day. The rain's just gone, and then it starts picking up again once the hurricane passes over. So I could just imagine what she is witnessing out in the day broad light with this going on.
I survived Hurricane Hugo in 1989. When it started, my mom was in the hospital,
Hmm.
and I remember being in the hospital and my dad saying, "Okay, we gotta go home now." Like it was starting to pick up that night, and it was like we had seen it coming, like all the videos out of the Gulf of Mexico, man. It was crazy. It was so loud and it was so scary. And they showed videos of the eye of the hurricane, and it was like you could see birds flying.
Mm-hmm.
That's how calm it was. So that's pretty much what's happening here. Now that we're back off planet Earth and back in this weird spiral world.
Yeah.
Like this hurricane. So Kyrie barely makes it inside, and she can still hear the storm calling her. And she thinks that it's just because she's scared. And then she starts talking. I think was it Suichi first that she was talking to? Oh, it's her brother.
Yeah.
And her brother says, it sounded like the storm was calling you. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you hear the most irrational thing that you thought couldn't possibly be, and somebody else says that they heard it too, man, like that's good storytelling.
Yeah, it really is. Because I mean, how many of us have like going like as a kid or even as an adult, we're walking somewhere and sometimes we think that we heard our name. So just imagine that you hear like a hurricane calling out to you. It's like, what? No.
You are stuck like Chuck at that point, man. Like
pretty much.
So now the storm won't really leave. And it's like whenever she goes outside, it picks up in its intensity, and it's like raining on her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From
like literally a cloud is like following her wherever she's at.
This is the craziest. I like to write bizarre things. Every page of this book, I could have never guessed. Like I never could guess, not even like the next step, not even like the next big twist. But I couldn't imagine what to write on it. I wouldn't be able to know what to write on the next page of this. Like
yeah,
and it's still good. Like this is slowly becoming less art. Jeez. Hey, baby. Oh, very good, very good. Okay, so anyway, this book is so good because now Suichi is saying, you don't realize that the eye of this storm is here, particularly to watch you. And it's like, she knows it's true because now the guy who saved her life a bunch is saying the same thing that her little brother said, which was the same thing that she thought.
And could I just say that this one episode or this chapter, he took a lot of time to do a lot of landscaping.
And like, everything is lines. Everything is shaded in lines. It's
like, I don't know how well, but like, look at that. Like, just, I know it's kind of blurry, but you have the house there and the wind is blowing, and on each small panel, he's like taking the time to show the actual building, a house actually slowly being teared apart. I mean, I could just imagine as an artist drawing so much debris to make sure that, you know, it's covering the scene, but it's makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I mean, it's great.
So this so far, guys, even including the rest of the stories that we're going to read, these are probably my favorite sequence of pages because of the faces. Like, I'm going to try to scan through these real quick. Like, look at Suichi's face.
Yeah, the facial expressions are just really great. I mean, he literally took the time to like. It was probably one of those things he looked in a mirror to do references or something, because that's just nothing that you usually see like in everyday comics. Like, he had to take the time to like, okay, what's this facial expression would look like if I really did this.
These are the book is good. Like we've said.
What's up, Mike?
We've said it a bunch here. Like, the book is good. Like, the book is more than solid. But like we're going to the phase of like these were 3 pictures in a row that I would be happy to hang any of or all of on my wall,
Yeah.
because this looks like a, you know what this looks like? This looks like one of those 80s or like early 90s t-shirts that would have like like comic book panels with no context. And they
Yes.
would always look so cool, but then you had no idea what they were about.
Yeah.
And it's like these panels look like fake comic books. They're so good. It's almost like a comic book can't look quite this good, but we're going to explain it to you this way because it's edgy. It's just very, very well done.
And what's crazy enough is that, you know, they're trying to escape from this hurricane, and like literally things are being destroyed. And you have at one point, it's just I just really like the scene. Like she's trying to like run away from it, and the ground is actually sinking. But while the ground is sinking, it's creating holes at the same time.
Yeah, look at that,
like
spiral holes.
Like that's some spiral mud holes. And
this
just
book is so scary. It's so scary.
And what's amazing enough is that, you know, they're trying to escape away from it. And it's literally traveling to the center of the town where that river is, the main water source to the whole town. It's you know, it's like, what the hell? It's like literally a small little pond, that's like the size of a building, literally devoured a whole giant hurricane.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. It's like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. This hurricane that was strong enough to kill a woman because it couldn't tell that it wasn't Kyrie. And then it spit her back out.
Yeah.
And then this all fits into Dragonfly Pond. Like that. What is going on here? Like, this chapter, guys, is really, really scary. And it's like, it's not a lot. Like, once Suichi tells Kairi that storm is after her, it's like the last set of chapters we had, the zombie chase. Like, this is as close as you can get to a car chase with no cars as you can imagine, because it's so tense and they're not talking. Because in real life, if you was going through that, you wouldn't be talking either. It was running. It was them trying to like dodge all this wreckage and chaos of a storm that's particularly after them. Just so well done, and not through a lot of pages. It's pretty compact. It's compact enough for them to tell a little gag story at the end of the chapter. That's 2 or 3 pages. So,
but like you said, it's not a lot of dialogue, but it was just done so well, because he's like, okay, I'm gonna take a concept of real terror and like, okay, what if this thing was just chasing after me? You know, because I mean, with not even a hurricane, but with a tornado, you could have a tornado that'll miss your house, but it'll hit your next door neighbor's house. You know, it's like, what's going on? It's crazy.
So, just real quick, man, it's like this. I don't think is I wouldn't say this is my favorite chapter. I loved everything about it, but I could be easily convinced that it's the best chapter in the book. It's so different than everything else leading to it. And it's got so much. The art's better than the writing, and the writing is like A1 fantastic. And he's doing it. It's just this is a comic book clinic. Like, here's some comic books for you. You ain't gotta have a preference. Read this comic book. Read this chapter, and you will want to read 2 chapters before at least, and the next chapter after. You got to read the next chapter after. There's no question that you want to read the next chapter after, because we ain't even there yet.
Yeah,
like this was a light appetizer.
It's but with the next chapter, oh man, it's like the next chapter literally, because like we've said in the past, like with these chapters, he literally writes the stories where they, you know, literally relate to each other. Because now you got this chapter 13 called The House, and literally it's about a family whose home was destroyed because of the hurricane,
Yeah.
and they're trying to find a new home. They're trying to find a new place, and this guy's like, hey, and this is one of those episodes where it starts off in color, showing that, hey, something tragic just happened, but we're going to try to make you
Yeah.
be more joyful by adding color into your life. But
Yeah.
man, it changed really fast.
Right. Yeah. The
It
color,
it really did.
it's like you survived a hurricane that was calling your name,
Hmm.
and the sun is out, and nobody close to you fortunately passed away. Your family's still alive, your little brother's alive, your boyfriend's alive. They lost their house,
Yeah.
but because there's so many empty houses now, they have houses to choose from.
Hmm.
But it's one of
Pretty much.
these long strip houses that the kids that turn themselves into a spiral are in. It's like the
Yeah.
worst of the worst locations. And they are like,
Hmm.
the mom is mad, the dad's mad, the kids are getting a little bit scared, and they were all right to feel exactly how they felt. Because
Yeah.
once again, I say it every chapter, and I don't really feel bad about it anymore. Nothing was the same after the last chapter. But
Hmm.
because nothing was the same before that chapter and after that chapter, this chapter makes you forget about the placenta babies, mushrooms,
Oh yeah.
about the hurricane, because now
Hmm.
it's like this was like this big thing, and now it's like now let's focus in on how this big thing affects one family and how
Yeah.
terrible it's like all what these
Hmm.
people are going through for no good reason. It's just all happening.
Yeah. And they move in, and one of the first people that introduce themselves is the next door neighbor. At
You know?
first, you could tell that the next door neighbor is kind of fishy, like kind of stalkish in a way.
Yep.
Like it's like, okay, thank you for meeting you, but get away from me. You kind of sound like a creep.
Yep.
And pretty much you find out that the man literally has a hole in their leading to their house that he's looking through it, like freaking Psycho from the whole Bates
Yeah.
Motel, you know,
Exactly.
like spying on the mother and spying on the daughter and everything.
Yeah.
And if that's not terrifying enough that having someone actually watch you and God knows what he's doing, I mean, we can pretty much guess.
Right. Exactly. Because yeah, he's looking at her. Like
Yeah.
he's looking at her.
Hmm.
But before that, you find out that Kyrie's dad has a spiral wart on his foot. Like the
Yeah.
spirals are back again.
Yeah, like literally now
Wow.
the family's being affected.
Yeah. So it's like this is going on. They can hear this guy screaming and
Hmm.
groaning and dragging and moaning, just like Kyrie says he's like a howling, an animal howling, and it's like he won't stop. And it's like the next morning, this guy shows up and like he's wondering about the noise. And
Yeah.
he said it was an old woman and her son, but they hadn't seen the son because the old woman was always out. And that's her. Like again, man, like look at this.
Yeah, you're gonna show the old woman.
Yeah, look at that.
Like that scene's done beautifully.
Look at that,
That
man. That
just
is
as
so
an
cool.
artist concept, even if that wasn't just in the comic book and it was just a stilled image that he just wanted to draw and put on Instagram, that's just done amazing.
It looks like cover art. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it really does. It
It's
really
so
does.
good. It's so good. And it's like the wood in like the frame.
Hmm.
Man, it's nuts. So this is the old woman. She's covered up from head to toe. You can't see anything on her. And she's washing these clothes that have like little holes
And
all in.
of course, the daughter is interested. It's like, why are you covered up in such probably hot weather? And one of the things that she sees from the old woman is almost like this tree branch hand with thorns and everything. It's like
Yeah.
pretty much. You know,
You
it's
know,
like you want a new home, so I'm gonna make you into a tree, pretty much.
you know what? I'll save that till the end of the chapter. I won't say it just yet because I want to make sure we have enough time. Because there's a lot. This chapter had a lot to unpack
It
because
did.
now it's like now you got this mystery of this woman with this like gnarly thorn spiral hand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's covered from head to toe. And you don't know what she looks like, and she's covering, hanging up these clothes that look like they're full of bullet holes.
Yeah.
Man, there's so much just right here, and then it's like, then you start to think about this. You hear this guy howling and moaning again, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
then you start thinking about, look at these hands. And she says her, I was sorry, I started reading it again.
No, it's all right.
You know, she's talking about her son dying because
Yeah.
her son has basically become just thorns and thistles, and he's all spirals. Like
Mm-hmm.
he basically becomes like a horror version of Groot with spirals.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, and so but before you get there, it's like they looking at the son, they're looking at where the son
Mm-hmm.
died, and she really doesn't talk about it. But Kyrie's now getting the same warts on her foot that her dad has.
Yeah.
Like, nothing good can come of this, you know.
Of
It's like
course not.
we at least know that. So then the real estate guy finds a hole, and he's like creeping through it. He's really weird.
Right there. That's like
look
Bates
at
Hotel right there,
yeah.
spying on the family.
Look at like this this top corner panel with the whole side of his face is
Mm-hmm.
Norman Bates 1,000%, man.
Through and
It
through.
really is. Yeah. So, but he goes over there, and because he's over there, his hand gets just like this old woman's hand. Like
Yeah.
he starts to get these warts that are spirals, and then the storm comes back, and everything goes crazy because the storm is still around. It was
Mm-hmm.
just calm. Like, don't forget, because it seems like as long as Kyrie is alive and she's not consumed by a spiral, the storm has almost become obsessed with her ability to keep cheating it, you know?
Yeah.
She's been close a lot, you know, and so now
Mm-hmm.
the whole family is infected with these spirals.
Yeah. Like literally the same spikes that the old woman had on her hands. Like at this point, the whole town is being affected in different ways. Either it be by snails or by spirals on the hands for like thorns. I mean, literally the whole town is being affected at this point. And, you know, people are realizing that, hey, this isn't just, you know, some people making up a urban legend. It's, you know, you're in the end game pretty much at this point.
Yeah, this whole grieving, you know, son grieving his parents, like, no, this is real. Like, this town is really cursed with spirals.
Mm-hmm.
He was right in the first chapter. So
Yeah.
Kyrie is like, these spirals are going to kill us if we stay in this house. The house
Mm-hmm.
is like getting ate up with spirals. The family is getting worse and worse. And it's just like these spiral snakes look like they're just coming out of everywhere. And it's like these faces, man. Like, hold on, y'all. Hold on. Like, look at that.
Yeah, that's the one I chose for the clip for the thumbnail, because I'm like, that is a great horror movie clip or a comic book clip at all, because this man has literally at this point been consumed and probably became the very thing that the son was before he died.
Yeah.
And yeah, this guy is just creepy because I mean he's a pervert. He's a pervert, and now he's literally, you know, he's a pervert and he's horny for real at this point.
He's so horny for real. Yep. Like, this is like, no matter how good you draw that picture, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of pictures of this face must have taken forever, because this is all lines, and it's so good, y'all. Like,
yeah, like this scene right here, like
how can something be so scary and still like
And just imagine like him drawing the body as an artist, drawing all those like spines or woods coming out of the whole body, and it just takes a lot of time. But he wanted to sell it, and he did.
yeah. Frank says he was in the Discord and he just came in and he was a pervert. Yeah, man. We've gone far off the rails. Like
Yeah, but
it's gotten wild.
you want to show that scene where he literally is like almost grabs her and she screams. That scene is like really good. That's like a horror movie scene right there.
Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Look at that. Okay, I gotta show the last two pages because they
Yeah.
are like 100% awesome. Okay, so you got this.
Yeah, that one on
And look
there
at that.
at the bottom right. That one is done so well. That's like true horror right there, where you have something hovering over you and you're trying to crawl literally on your stomach out the door while this thing is like hovering over you. That's like
That's
that's a
nuts, man.
that's a horror movie shot if I'd never seen
It's
one right there.
it's a horror movie, and it's just like he's so good at building tension. Okay,
Yeah,
this is the
exactly.
page. This last page is the page of the book. I mean, not the. I'm sorry, page of the chapter. It's not the page of the book,
Mhm.
but it is the page of the chapter because it's like the monster is at his monstriest, if that's a word, and then he's dead. But look at that. Look at this right here.
Yeah. Just the sound effects that they use for that. He does some really great sound effects.
And they're all like every letter,
Mhm.
every letter choice, like every like style of lettering is perfect for the sound that he's trying to convey to the
Yeah.
point that I could sit down and read this over and over and over again because it's really really well done.
But
It's
that scene that you showed, I just noticed that when they shoved the pole through his neck, you
yep.
actually seen the side of the pole that was coming out on the opposite side. The flesh is pulling outwards, showing
Look at that.
that it's actually being like coming out of his neck, because the other part of it would show that the skin is going inside of his neck, because that's the stab entrance point.
That's
just
nuts, man.
just really great detail.
Attention to detail, and it's just like, look at that. It's so crazy.
Yeah, like I want to see his thumbnails. I want to see his drawing thumbnails, if he has any, or if he just like, I got this idea in my head and I just want to draw it. Because I mean, that's just crazy.
the art the art has gotten stronger as the
Hmm.
book has gone on.
Yeah.
It's because, and you know what it is? It's because he wants you to kind of hang on to these pages. It's like
Hmm.
there's so much to look at, and it's almost like he drew it in more detail to make your. It's a conductor. Like
Yeah.
he just knew if I put more lines on this page, they won't be able to stop looking at it.
Hmm.
And when they don't stop looking at it, they're going to hear every time Kyrie screams. They're
Yeah.
going to hear every noise. They're going to hear the sound
Hmm.
that the rod that just happens to blow because of the hurricane, even though
Yeah.
you think the hurricane is with this monster.
Hmm.
It's so chaotic. It keeps killing itself and loving itself and making babies and making snails. And it's like, it's funny because the last set of chapters in the hospital, the pregnant ladies were, because you didn't see this before, the pregnant ladies were like drilling people with hand drills.
Yeah.
And now it's like all of like the calamity that this monster is when it's in itself,
Hmm.
it's creating those hand drills now. Like it's
Yeah.
creating those same marks. And now these horns that look like hand drills, they look the
Hmm.
same. And it's like it worked so well. It's like it saw how well it worked with the humans, and now it's like trying to replicate
Yeah.
this thing that the humans use to serve it. It's like now it's become, because now it's like monsters. There were no monsters before the zombie kid, and it's
It's
like,
basically strategic strategy. You know,
yeah,
I'm basically do a bunch of experiments, and once I got enough knowledge, now I'm gonna go in and conquer and destroy, and that is what it's doing at this point.
yep. So that was the end of that chapter.
Yeah. But I mean, it was just a great horror chapter because we went from a hurricane that was literally destroying the whole town just to reach to her. And then we got to this point where the family's affected and they're just terrified because they don't know what's going on with their body. And then out from nowhere, they got this giant, like, perverted tree pretty much trying to come after them. You know, it's basically the example that I think of is what is it with Bruce Campbell? What's that horror movie series?
Army of Darkness
Army of Darkness. Basically, those
or Evil Dead.
Evil Dead. Yes, Evil Dead. Literally in that movie, there was vines that were trying to kill the woman in the beginning, so the ghost could take over her body.
Yep.
Just the idea of having like something that you look at everyday life to come to life. I mean, even with the first Poltergeist movie, you had a tree that was
Yeah.
literally trying to devour the kid, and then what happened? The tree, they were able to take him out of the tree, and a tornado lifted up the tree. But it's just
This
it's just brilliant because you know it's trying to take something that's beautiful and simple and make it scary, and he
worst
sells it. He sells it.
worst Guardians of the Galaxy ever. Like,
Yeah.
this guy is terrible, and it's like he's so gross that it's a good thing that he died, because
Hmm.
it was like he was obsessed, and it was like he got consumed so fast that it was like he was able to like make it who he was, and
Yeah.
it was like even the Spiral was like, we're not ready quite for you yet. We're not
Hmm.
ready for your level of evil yet. But it's
Yeah.
like, this is like the most detailed world building I've ever read before, because
Hmm.
you could tell 1,000 stories off of any of these chapters. You really could. Like, you could have a whole book dedicated to the row houses. You
Yeah.
could have a whole book dedicated to the high school.
Hmm.
Now it's like Snail High School.
Yeah.
It's like, but we press on. Like, everything is still haywire in this town, and
Yep.
people are
Evil Dead.
starting to realize, like, in the outside world, that there's something going on here. And so it's like reporters are starting to try to go,
Hmm.
and a lot of them, they go, oh, this is chapter 14, guys, butterflies. And a
Which
lot.
which in the beginning when it's like butterflies, like, is this going to be like the mosquito thing? But even the mosquito thing found out that it wasn't about mosquitoes. It was something totally different.
Yep.
So if you want to go ahead with this story, go ahead. I'll let you.
I'll start it. I'll
Yeah,
kick it
I'll
off.
start it. Yeah.
So basically, it's like it's starting like around other places, like from Midoriyama and beyond. Like, people are starting to realize that something is going on in this city, and journalists are trying to get there, and reporters are trying to get there. But then, here we go. None of them come back. Yes, Snail High. Believe that. And how was that not the name of that chapter? Who
Right.
knows? I'm not in charge of that. But like, now it's like, other reporters, like, now it's a story, because surely you can go and come back, but why aren't these journalists coming back? And so they're going through the tunnel. Again, the artwork for a tunnel is and fantastic.
Hmm.
A1. I won't bother showing it, but it's really good artwork.
Yeah.
Um he says, so they're driving through. You can't It's like this tunnel goes on forever. this would not have gone over well on PBS. I can
Right?
100% tell you that. Like
I could see him
LeVar
trying
Burton
to.
would have been a little quiet on this one. Like he would have said, "You might want to take my word for this one, kids. Like, don't read, don't take a look at this book."
Yeah, yeah. Don't take a look. Don't read the book.
This is not a reading rainbow. No,
believe
no.
me, you don't want to be anything in this book.
No, you don't. So they drive through the tunnel, and the tunnel, like, it feels long. It feels like they're driving fast, and this tunnel is long. And when they come out the other side, there's a tornado behind them. Because why wouldn't there be? And then you start to say, okay, this is why there's no journalists coming back. But fortunately, none of them die. They're banged up. Their car flips over. They're trying to call. They can't get a signal. And of course, this is like walking them.
Right, which he did a great job drawing that tornado and showing the card being tipped over.
Yeah, I'll show that because that was good.
He did a good job at making that.
I'll start at this bottom half of this page because that's where it really kind of kicks off, because you still feel like you're in the car, but what it would be like if you went in a car with a tornado behind you. And just that liftoff point, man, it's so cool. Like,
yeah, like right there with the van actually being lifted up by the tornado. Just he does a really good job with like any tornadoes, winds, hurricanes like that, because it's one of those things that you think that it would be so simple to do, but no, as an artist, sometimes drawing stuff like that could come out like, you know, Scribbles. I tried to draw a tornado once, and it looked cheesy. So you know
what's smart about this, Ronnie, though, is like it starts out with the tornado. You can see the car on the ground. The tornado is right behind it. But the moment that the tornado sucks the car up, it's not the car 35 feet in the air. You couldn't fit another van driving underneath this van.
Yeah.
And that makes it gives it, like, as bizarre and out there as this story is, because it's not very high off the ground, and it never really gets that high off the ground.
Yeah.
It's enough to make it's enough to ground you again. Like, it's enough to make you because tornadoes are real.
Yeah.
And people get in tornadoes in cars, and that's a real thing. Like, and it kind of kept that you were in reality, but now you've literally been flipped upside down, and you're in this town and you don't know where you are, and you're not dead yet, but this town can kill you at any minute because it's not cold, but you can see your breath, and your breath looks like little spirals.
Yeah. And he literally shows what the tornado does to the town.
Yeah.
And just the town is completely damaged. And one of the bodies there is just so great how he like sold like the horror effect with the eyes sunken in and the face like deform. Like, I'll try to show it. I don't know. I was like, right here. Your tablet's a bit bigger, so yeah, like look at that face. I mean, that is just like, it literally looked like the person had all their oxygens just suck out of their body.
Yeah, look at that.
And their eye pockets just caved in. I mean, it was he sold that horrifying scene. Like, it's like, okay, I'm gonna make this scene be dramatic and scary and creepy, and he sold it.
Yeah.
I mean, he does a great job on suspense and getting climax out of people. And then out of the whole and then out of the whole thing, what that found me weird is that you had 3 boys literally tied up, like
inside of this storm.
Yeah. What's that about?
Yeah. And it's like they're just 3 boys and they look terrified. So she gets them and she cuts them loose.
And I'll let you go on and tell your opinion on this. Like, it literally went from creepy to like
it's like Attack on Titan.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. So
people with powers at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So these kids are tied up, and she sees them after this storm lets go. They like after she sees all this this big giant whirlpool is these kids at the bottom of it, and they're tied up and they're terrified and they look scared. And so she cuts them loose and she asks who they are and where they're going. And of course, because this whole town is bizarre, these kids just don't say anything to her. They just walk away. And then they start blowing tornadoes.
Yeah, it's like they had Superman breath.
Yeah, they're blowing tornadoes, y'all, and they love that they can just destroy anything they want to.
It's like a big bad wolf persona, but with 3 kids. They literally, all 3 of them are blowing at the same time, and they are literally creating a tornado just as big, or if not even bigger, than the tornado that destroyed the town. So it's like the tornado gave birth to 3 children at this.
So this has got to be the placenta babies, yeah? Like these have got to be...
Probably.
This has got to be those kids, yeah.
Yeah, like what happened to these kids? I mean... It's like in that chapter, it's like, okay, the kids would still be an infant, but I mean, at this point, who's to say that those children that were born don't grow at a faster rate?
Sure. Yeah. So they see her, and of course, they try to run away. But when she starts to run, they tell her not to run because it'll make a tornado behind them. Like they have power over this. But it's like anything you do in this town creates tornadoes.
Yeah.
Anytime you talk too loud, anytime you run, anything that you do basically to exert energy creates a spiral. And it's like it's not even a spiral around you. Like she screams these kids away. She just got into this town. She screams these kids away from her. Like literally makes a tornado. Just like they were doing. Blows them away.
Yeah.
So.
But it was.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This is definitely one of those bizarre episodes where it started off like really the creepy element, just like the last one. And then it went into like almost like the sci-fi element. Because like I said, these kids really are like, hey, let's go around and destroy the city with our brand new powers.
This was like this is one of the first chapters in a while where I read like 3 pages and then I would have to go back because it was like there was so much going on. I was like, am I missing something? Or is it just like we've just like taken another, like this book has these leaps in it, and this is like one of them. Like this, every chapter in this book was like in the first 2 videos of this, it was like a chapter in each of those sets that was like a game changer. And these 5 that we did tonight, these chapters, like these 5 chapters here tonight, because this is my first time like really like reading this book to think about it. And I'm getting to the point where I was pretty much at the point of just like scanning through the rest of the book because at the time I was just kind of taken by the art. But it's like every one of these chapters have been pivotal. Like all of these chapters have been. And so, you know, now Kyrie meets the news lady, and she recognized her because they have TV. And, you know, it's like she feels bad because she blew these kids and she thinks she killed them. So she takes her back to the row houses because this is between the hurricane and now these kids. The row houses are the only standing buildings in this whole city. And this city was huge in the beginning chapters. You know, it had the big crematorium. It had all the pretty houses. It had the hospital was huge. Like, and now it's like all the people that are alive in this town are crammed into these row houses. And it's literally like first come, first serve. There's if you can fit in one, that's where you get. And nobody has food right now. And nobody, you know, it's like everybody is like protective of their space, and they're all like, the tension is building from the town. Like the town is about to turn on itself completely.
Because like you're saying, at this point, pretty much everyone knows is like, okay, this is real. I need to go out there and gather everything I have. Basically, like people trying to prepare for like a hurricane or
Yeah,
something like that, you know?
yeah, and they don't know what they're preparing for anymore because
Hmm.
now it's like they're losing. Like now it's like you stop losing chunks, and it's like now you're losing like huge percentages of yourself. Like they don't have anything now, and they're still trying to fight, and they're getting frustrated, and they want to leave, but there's nowhere for them to go. Nobody can get in, nobody can get out, and
Hmm.
if they go outside too much, and they start to try to move around, then they make hurricanes come. It's like any energy that they exert other than dying in this town is immediately turned against them, and these kids are back. Like these bad kids won't go to bed. These
And they're
kids,
having fun.
they're ready to rock. And it's like, get in the row house because they'll blow everything away. But for some reason, they can't blow over these row houses. And
Yeah.
they're giving it what they got.
But
Like,
one point, one person's like they're wheeling around like butterflies. And literally at this point, this panel looks like these kids are just having fun by going around in circles in a hurricane, right? I mean, a tornado right there.
yeah, look at
Like,
that. It's so cool.
yeah,
But it
it's
makes no
like,
sense.
no, exactly. It's like this chapter was like literally like I'm gonna make it n- not much as scary, but towards the end I'm gonna make it into more of a sci-fi element.
Yeah, it's like, earlier when we were talking before, and I was like, this is kind of like the world where Dracula.
Hmm.
Like this is like how the world was before Dracula and what made vampires possible is all this chaos.
Yeah.
But it's like now it's like, no, maybe not that. Maybe it's like as things cool, like this planet, like if this is a planet and it's cooling off, like maybe now this is where like superheroes show up. Like
Hmm.
maybe it's just volatile at the beginning because now it's like these kids are like they can fly.
Hmm.
They're using this thing to have fun. And the
And it
last
doesn't seem like it's actually hurting them.
it's not hurting them, but they're doing it in the face of like not just like spiral death, but like death and despair, like people wasting away because they just don't have anything. And it's
Yeah.
like these kids are riding tornadoes outside, having a blast. It's like they're feeding off of it. And it's like the last narration box is just like Karusu's Cho was going mad. Because it's like you see something that you can't believe, but you're starving to death.
Hmm.
And chapter 15 comes, and
Oh
it
yeah.
has the only title that this chapter could possibly have. The only chapter. The only. Look at this. Chaos.
And that's why I picked that to be the title of the episode, because at this point it's chaos. Like this curse that's happening is literally not trying to hide itself. It's trying to show that, hey, I'm here and I'm ready to pretty much do damage. Like I'm
That
not afraid to hide anymore.
that chapter title is so beautiful. Like this page,
Hmm.
it's so beautiful. It looks like a Zentangle with characters over it. And I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, but it's like
Yeah.
this is like because it's like even if you look at it, like some of the stuff looks like wreckage, and then some of it
Hmm.
just look like he just was lifting, like just letting the pen do whatever it wanted to do, and it comes off perfect because you can even see the characters in 3 dimensions, like that are spiraling around it.
Yeah, like this scene right here, where like these guys are literally riding the tornado. At this point, from what I said, I think that those adults that are in the tornadoes are the kids now, fully grown
Right,
as
they've
adults
aged, yeah,
that they aged.
because there wouldn't be many of them as adults. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
mean, there wouldn't have been many of them left as humans because they all turned into mushrooms.
Exactly.
And it's like now these kids, because it's the same number of them, and it's like they're dressed like this is what they do. Like
Hmm.
this is their
Yeah.
identity. Like they're these like tornado riders.
And now at this point, that besides the kids, well, the adults at this point, that besides destroying the town with tornadoes, all these people are literally being cursed with the curses that have been happening throughout the whole series of the book. That literally, like, tons of people are turning into snails at this point, and it's just like the title says, complete chaos.
Right. And the thing is, it's like Kyrie is talking to her brother because he wants to ride the tornadoes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like these men are playing like kids. They're attacking these huge empty buildings just to level them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like her brother is starting to say that he wants to learn because a lot of people have joined these gangs and learned how to ride tornadoes, and he wants to too. But it's like she's telling him you have to be really skilled to ride a twister. Like now it's like they're starting to they're starting to live with it. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
now they're just starting to live with it. They're struggling. They're trying to, but it's like life goes on. Like
Mm-hmm.
kids still have aspirations. Like he wants to, he's aspiring to be in one of these tornado gangs because they have food. You know, and it's
But
like
what happens to but now the food? You want to say what's going on now? Oh my gosh.
so. Yeah, so as things go on, you realize that there are more people that are turning into snails,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it's just such a gross visual. They're still as gross as it was in the first chapter, and it's like people are getting the same sores on their back, and so they end up chasing down one of um, the gang guys, and they're eating this human snail hybrid meat. They're cooking them. It's like escargot.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder at this point that that's the whole purpose, is that, the tornado, the swirls are basically creating life at this point, and they're turning us, the reader, basically turn the town, the readers, into basically food.
Yeah,
Because literally the people that are able to have the tornado powers in this scene, it's a very graphic scene, but it's just so horrifying. Like
yeah.
that right there, like
Look at
literally,
that.
that's literally one of the snails people, and they're literally being cooked and be eating by these babies that have grown into these tornado power people. And that scene was like real graphic right there. And
Yeah,
yeah, and the
it's
guy's like,
just
and the guy, they're like, you can have a bite too, kid, they're delicious. And I'm just like, you know
yeah. And it's like when he was like to Kyrie when he's like, "We don't have to fight. We could be friends." Like this slime
yeah,
is like rolling off the page, man. Like this guy's
yeah,
gross, and it's like they say that snail meat is delicious.
uh, I never had it, never will.
I wouldn't have it. You can buy it in a can up here. I don't know if they sell it at Charles Walmart, but you can buy it in a can
Yeah,
at
most food
the
doesn't
store.
come good out of a can. We learned that with Spam.
Oh, what? Whoa, whoa, whoa! We're not gonna do that. We're not. No, 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 no. I can't eat it anymore. But we're not. We're not gonna talk about spam. No. Where it's going? That's where the line is. We're not gonna speak negative about spam. Nope.
Yeah.
I won't. I won't participate. So it's like now it's like they're learning how to ride these hurricanes as they're all going, of course, to Dragonfly
Yeah.
to oh, we got Ronnie again. I mean, we got Frank again while he was eating.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
they are like they're
were
doing
you
stuff.
are you eating ramen because it has swirls in it? Just think about that.
Like a little spiral cut ham.
Yeah.
So Suichi rescues her again because that's his role. Like you think
Hmm.
that he's the most coming undone person in the book, but he is smart enough to conserve himself and position himself because it's basically this story is basically a love triangle between Suichi and the swirl and Kairi.
Mm-hmm.
And he has always been aware of what this storm was. I mean, what this spiral was going to be. He was aware of what this town was going to be. It affected him personally because it pretty much started with his parents. Like they were the first people who like really got. Oh, he's eating a hot pocket. Yeah, this is a pretty. I understand. Um, but it's like these men that do slightly look older towards the end of the chapter than they did at the beginning.
Yeah.
They're getting stronger. They're back to pretty much creating hurricanes now.
Mm-hmm.
And all Suichi now can say is mad. And it's like that's pretty much what happens in the next couple chapters too. Like he's pretty. We did 16 this week, didn't we?
Yeah, we're doing 16.
16 and 17. Or is it just 16 or 16 and 17? I read 17.
Just 16, and we're gonna pick up 17.
We'll pick up 17, 18 through 20 next week. That's right. Okay. So this story, like this is a pure aftermath story. Like the next chapter is called Erosion. Still strong, like artwork. I'm always going to say is strong.
Great.
Strong. Yeah. Like there's really not any there's really nothing to really break down about the art. It's just good.
Mm-hmm.
So this these ruins are now ruins. Like this town is like just basically it's like going through a mulcher. Like the whole town is just being wrecked.
Yeah.
And all it is just like it's like Mad Max with tornadoes. It's just like everything is gone. There's storms that come, and whenever the storm comes, usually it sucks one of these people that are left, just sucks them up, and they're gone.
And more people getting snail backs and everything. Like literally at this point, the whole town is being affected in some way. Where if you live in that town, you're gonna have some type of curse.
And it's so crazy. Point. It's like you're cursed for being slow. And how they curse you for being slow is not only do you become a snail, but now that is the last food source in this town, and it's becoming you either become
the
a snail,
survival of the fittest.
Yeah, yeah. If you're slow in the pack, you get sucked up. If you're slower than that in the pack, you become a snail. And if you want to stay alive so that you don't get sucked up or turn into a snail, you have to eat the snails that are created in order to keep surviving. Like, what? Like, how did we get here? Yes. When you say this town is cursed by spirals, like you couldn't imagine. You wish that you would just get, your hair would grow into spirals. Like we've gone so far beyond that now, and it still makes sense. So this basically is a story talking about the news team and how they tried to escape. They tried to go back in the tunnel, and there was no end to the tunnel. They could run in the tunnel forever, and they could not get to the other side. They tried to get a boat. They built a raft. The raft got sucked up. They're literally stuck here until they die. Like this town is a death sentence. So
we're literally with the boat that they were trying to get on. The started creating basically a whirlpool that sucked the boat in. It was just really great.
It was so good. It was such a, like I said, I think that the first 5 chapters are my favorite because it was the beginning of the story, and now I know how good the story is. This was the strongest 5 chapters so far. Like, not only was it strong story-wise, as wild and crazy as it gets, man, it's still very easy to follow. You don't have all the answers, but nobody does. So it makes it very easy just to keep reading because these people don't even know what they're going through. So it's like you can just read right along with them. But the artwork got so strong by now. Like, this is like, he was like obviously in his groove.
Yeah, he was having fun. He's like, okay, now I got the suspense, I got the horror out of you. and I was building up to this point to show that this curse is going to cause a lot of damage. Now I could have fun with it and run with it, and
Yeah.
he did.
Because a curse in comics is kind of like the same thing as an alien. There's really
Hmm.
no wrong way to draw it, and there's really the further you think out of the box, apparently, the further you think out of the box, the cooler the concept.
Yeah.
Because this story is so far beyond spirals now, but they're still consistent with spirals. The story, it's obvious, like the story has echoes of the other chapters in it,
Hmm.
just like they would if there were a spiral. And so this whirlwind sucks up this kid, this guy, and he gets the spiral on his back, and it's like it's getting rampant. Like
Yeah.
people are just like getting these spirals on their back all the time now. It's like more and more people, and it's like people begging to get inside because they know if they still stay outside, they're gonna die. That's pretty much
Hmm.
like the row houses are the safest location for some reason. It's like they're not able to be the spiral can't really affect them directly. It's just different. It's kind of like you get radiation poisoning
Yeah.
inside of the row houses. So the people are trying to force this row house open because they know if they stay outside, they're going to become snails. And they can't get in because these people start trying to blow them away from the outside.
Hmm.
And then the more they blow, the harder they blow. They break the door down. But then when they break the door down, like these people are all like fishing line, like gross knotted faces and like eyeballs, like just a gruesome scene. Like, look at this.
Yeah, I'll let you show that. That
Yeah,
scene was
look
like
at that.
really well done.
Look at that, man. It's like the human centipede.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Uh,
it's that same level of like
hmm.
it's like body horror, but it's like shock body horror. And there's nothing obscene about it other than this is like the worst of human condition. It's just like noodle people.
Yeah, it's like you all want to live under one place. I will literally make you all
And
as
look
one
at it, like
person.
there, like look,
And that's the thing
it's
that we didn't see before. Like before, how that uh, boyfriend and that girlfriend were intertwined together like a snake.
it learned.
This they learn are like, okay, you people all want to be in one building together. I'm gonna make that curse be your curse, where all of you are connected together and twisted together as one giant body full of heads.
But it's kind of it goes back to the obsession thing, right? Because it was like they
Yeah.
were obsessed with keeping those people out, and they were working together to
Hmm.
keep those people out. That their bodies became just this one thing, and it
Yeah.
destroyed. Like it got so big, it destroyed the row house.
Hmm.
Just blah, like all of those things, and it's just like they're building, they're building from tornadoes to make this row house bigger for
Yeah.
them to be a knot. So the people that are left start trying to do it, and the storm gets mad. Storm gets mad. Rescue ships come, but Kyrie can't leave because her
Hmm.
dad. But you know what? MBD, no big deal about the rescue ships because my spiral town says I can't hang out tonight. Like,
Pretty much, it's
yeah,
like no, no one's gonna rescue you.
yeah,
You're here, and you're
yeah,
either gonna be, you know, the top alpha, or you're gonna be the low totem pole. Pretty much,
exactly. And if you're low on the totem pole, you're gonna be eaten.
food.
Yep, food.
Nope.
Spiral snail person food.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Eric's cargo.
Mm.
Wow, Chris. Okay, so they know that all hope is over. They got a little bit of food left, and of course, it becomes the first people say we got to eat the, you know, the process is we got to eat the snails now.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they're rationalizing that they're not humans anymore, so they have to eat them because it's all they had. And so,
But
yeah,
they're probably eating their own family members or, neighbors and stuff. I mean, but at this point, like the town is destroyed, and that's the only like resources for food to survive on.
and it's like Kairi sees Suichi eating the snail meat, and it was like
Hmm.
it was just the it's the last four panels. It's the last four panels of this chapter, and it's just like when she sees Suichi eating it, that's like that's heartbreak. Like you didn't need any words in the panel. Like she
Yeah.
was disappointed because he was eating it, but it also kind of gave her a barometer of how bad the situation was
Yeah.
because Suichi was eating it, but Suichi was always the guy
In the
who
beginning.
yeah,
Mhm.
he never relented to the spiral. And she said that night she ate snail meat. Or
Hmm.
she said the meat of a snail person, which had a lot more gravity.
Yeah.
And you know, her little brother is getting a snail on his back. Like he's getting he's getting the shell on his back. And she says, like, I knew I had to escape. So it's like now it's like the hope has become that maybe not everybody dies in this story. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like now it's the hope of yes, this town is cursed and nobody can get in or get out. But she knew she had to get out. Her dad is becoming as he's got problems like because
Hmm.
he's obsessed with the spiral completely separately already. The brother is now got a snail on his back, and so he's gone. Like, not only is he gonna die, he's gonna be eaten.
Yeah.
And Kyrie is just like, I don't want either one of these things because I've already eaten this. She's probably going to eat it again, and she can't eat it, knowing that it could be her brother and
Hmm.
somebody's going to eat him. So she knows she has to get out. I can't imagine how exciting this is going to wrap up.
Oh yeah. Definitely gonna end the book series next week. But
Yeah,
I
man.
just can't wait to sit down and read, you know, how everything plans out, how everything turns out. It's just so much built up.
I would learn how to speak Japanese just to pick his brain, not about his catalog.
Yeah. Hmm.
Just sit with Junji Ito
Oh
and
yeah.
talk to him
It,
about this book. Like,
definitely. If it was one of those things, like if we want like special guests to come on the show and he decided to come on, I would just love to have it and just sit down and ask, how did you come up with these stories? What made you think I'm just going to have snail people? I'm going to have vine people. I'm going to have people turn into spirals, because this took a lot of creativity and a lot of time to literally sit in front of the computer or whatever you did to write this down to come up with this brilliant masterpiece, because that's what it is at this point.
I'm not. I there's no way this story could end and disappoint me at this point. And so I can't wait to be able to say all of I want to heap praise upon praise on this book because
Yeah.
I think it's so good. Um, but I'll save that till next week. But
Hmm.
I loved all of these five chapters were great. All of these chapters stood alone. Well, after like everything was about this town after the hurricane, but it was like the
Hmm.
last two chapters like fit together. They told the same story,
Yeah.
but the rest of the chapters were like very individual because you could have told a story about just the news people trying to get to this town and not being able to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like everything is so haywire here. Like this newscaster is now just a regular cast member. Like she's
Mm-hmm.
just here with the rest of them trying to survive with
Yeah.
no real way out. Like you can say you have to escape, but
Mm-hmm.
you also know that that's not just something that it's not just something you can do. Like this town is not going to have it. And so how is Kyrie of all people going to get out? That's the question. It's just it's been such a fantastic story. Like
Yeah.
head and shoulders fantastic. Like
Mm-hmm.
the artwork is great, the story is great, and it's just black and white. I love the black and white. I'm not really crazy about the color pages that he started doing, like the first 2 or 3 pages of chapters that were color.
But I think he did that. I think he did that in like a actual strategy way, showing that people is like, okay, it seems like usually he brings in the colors after there was a great tragic, and then we'll bring in colors to tell a story that will seem like it's all changing for the best, and then he just throws in bam, just like with the story with the kids and the prankster. It started off in color in the beginning, and then the kid got ran over, and then it started going into the black and white again.
Is every choice chef's kiss, you know what I mean? Like just solid. Like they man, I may finish this book. Like I may finish it again. Like I may finish it with reading it tonight, man. It's such a good book, y'all. I can't wait to talk about these last 3 chapters and just kind of do a recap of the whole thing. But it's like I don't even know where to begin. Like I've said everything 1,000 times. I've said the same thing every week, and I'm gonna say the same thing next week because and there are going to be details that I love the same way, and that's just the mark of a good long book.
And like we talked about, this book is long, and just reading it in the beginning, we both were talking about that. This book needs to have more than one episode. It needs to be talked about because there's such good stuff in every single chapter.
This is like storytelling masterclass. Like horror is the genre that is written in, but this is masterwork. Like this is good storytelling in horror. It's good storytelling in heroes. It's good storytelling in fiction. It's good. Like it's good in every category. Like it's just textbook solid story. It's so good. So good, man. I love it. So so it's like the next chapter is called Escape. So if y'all want to start next week, chapter 17. Thanks for hanging out. Like it was 2 or 3 of y'all consistently, and it's always cool, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we always appreciate people stopping by and being in the chats and hanging out because it makes us, it's great to actually have people interact with us,
And the thing is, like me and Ronnie talk like that. We talk about this regardless, the same exact way because we do, So it's kind of cool. Like it's pretty cool, and it's like more people watch afterwards, and it's like I've found videos like this and like gotten to know stories, and I hope we're doing this story the justice that it deserves. I think we are because it's deserved every minute of time we spent doing these videos,
showing all the artwork, talking about like the way he drew the page, beautiful stuff.
It is, man. It's really cool. It's always nice to have. It's always nice to talk about comics because it's nice. It's a nice break. So we'll do it again next week, and we'll figure out what we're going to do next. I don't know. You wanna roll that out at the end of next week, like what we're gonna do next? Because I know that we don't know necessarily exactly what it's gonna be.
Once we sit down and decide what we're gonna do this week, like the next chapter, we'll let people know so that way in advance I'll put a link to the next book so they could read it in advance so they could be caught up and like be able to talk with us more in the chapter on
Yeah.
what they actually liked about the book.
Yeah,
So yeah.
exactly. So yeah, like let's do it. I'm looking forward to it because it's 3 chapters. I know how I get with this book, so it's like an hour is probably going to be plenty for
Oh
for
yeah.
3 chapters. But I'm gonna try as hard as I can to like keep it short so that we have time to like just give our afterwards
Hmm.
about the book because it's been a fun ride. Like it's been fun to read something like this with
Yeah.
somebody, and I hope Ogre catches up on these videos, and like I hope we did it. I hope he had as much fun watching it if he had been on here with us.
Yeah.
You know, it would be. I hope we did it. I hope we did it justice in general, and I
Hmm.
hope we're doing it justice. I think we are.
Yeah.
So yeah, like let's do this next week.
All right.
Same bat
Awesome.
time,
Awesome.
same
Thank-
spiral time, same spiral channel.
All right. Well, thank you
All right.
everyone for joining the chat. If
Yep.
you want to read more on the chapters in the description, I have it starting at chapter 12, and you just could read along up to chapter 16. Or if you want to start from chapter 12 and just read up all the way to the end of 20, go right ahead.
Yeah,
So
read
that way,
back too. It's so good.
while we're talking about what we like about those chapters, you could talk about what you like about it.
And the thing is, like, you can start at chapter 12 because it's just chaos. Like, it's
Mhm.
really like you can go back and catch yourself up, but you don't need to start at the beginning to know what's going on here because nobody
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, start at 12, read the rest of it with us, and then when we're all done, go back and finish it. But yeah, let's do this.
And
Thank you.
as always, I'm Ronnie Gunter, Crimson Isle Comics on Facebook, Instagram, and here on my channel because you're watching. And then Jason Alexander, Frog
Ball
Breaker
Breaker
Studios.
Studios.
You can find him on Instagram. His description is down below in the description. So
Yep.
yeah.
Instagram. I have a Facebook page. I'm like cooling off on Facebook pretty quick. But who knows where else I might show up. But Instagram is the prime objective.
Mhm.
So stay tuned, guys.
All right.
All right.
Bye,
Y'all
everyone.
be good. Peace, everybody.